Okay, so I just saw this Netflix trailer entitled Dear White People, and I think it's based in another movie that I saw on Netflix maybe about a year ago. In fact, it's based in that because in that movie there was a light-skinned African American woman who was saying provocative things, and it turned out that she had a white dad, and it was kind of an interesting movie. I don't remember if it was the same name, but it was, I think, well worth watching. But given the Trump presidency and what's gone on here, and just I'll leave a link in the description box, it's a short trailer, but you can see how provocative this series is going to be, and it's about racial tensions in a college. And here's the thing: I've talked about this in protests, and I just made a series of videos about goal setting and achieving goals. And when you are going to achieve a goal, so let's say this series is bringing about racial harmony, if that was their actual goal, or any of these people, Hillary Clinton people and all these people, anti-Trump people or the pro-Trump people, if your goal is to make America great again, you got to assess, in Donald Trump's case, or in this series, if the series goal is to bring unity and get rid of diversity, get rid of tensions between varying groups, then you have to look at what you're using as a system. Just like if you're going to travel from New York to California, you don't go and head out towards France and the Atlantic Ocean. You don't go that way. You don't fly over the world or take a paddle boat and start going through the Atlantic Ocean and go around that way when there's a much easier pathway. And I've talked about this before, that the best way to evaluate your own or somebody else's true intentions is the results of their work and how their actions, what are their actions and what are the results of their actions. Because oftentimes people say, all right, this is what we want. We want to create dialogue. We want to bring some sort of racial harmony into our system. And then they do things that are provoking and just divide people further. It riles up the side, it'll rile up the African American community who watch this show and the white people that support them. And it'll make the white people who are defensive about this type of subject matter tighten up and lash out and all these things and try to squish all these things. The same thing I talk about with the transgender movement. It's not moving the relationships between transgender people and the people that oppose them. It's just dividing them even more, all this information that's been out there. Now, it was a brutal slavery in America, one of the worst slaveries. There's been slaveries all over the world, and the African American, these Africans, when they were captured in their continent and brought here on these horrific slave ships and all these things, it was horrible. 2/3 of the people died. They were just basically thrown in the bottom of these boats, and there was nothing there. They didn't really eat properly, and most of them died. And so it was a brutal slavery once they arrived here in America. And black people have been on the bottom of the totem pole ever since. So this is real. The black people have a real complaint about what's happened to them and where they're socially. The thing is that people group white people together and black people together, and people are so different. For example, the most important thing to me is my spiritual practice, the Sahaj Marg, the Heartfulness spiritual practice. And there's lots of practitioners of this system, lots of people I know in a diverse group. And when I was in India, I met people who do this system all over the world. And there were people that I really feel close to, have a past life connection with, and have a lot in common with people from all over the world. I know people from Madagascar and Russia and Romania and Vietnam. I mean, these people were from countries, some countries I don't even know the names of. And a lot of these people I bonded with, again, feel very similar in our and who we are as people. We're like the same type. But there's people in my spiritual practice that I have almost nothing in common with. And I have more in common with Christians and atheists. And there's people in America who I feel very much similar to in various ways. And yet there are people in foreign countries that I'm more in common with. And there's people in different races that I have more in common with than a lot of white people I know. So there's no way to really put people in any real box. When you're introverted, you're a minority. I'm an introverted person. I'm a dyslexic person. And these are things that would divide me from other people, but there are people who understand this, extroverts who understand introverts, and people I have you can share a common bond with outside of my demographic. So whenever you decide to say, all right, let's put this group of people together, and that's how our society is, the framework of our society is based in division. And so this, just even the premise of this show, Dear White People, it's addressing a large group of people. In America, we're talking over 150 million people, and just saying putting them all in this one box. And the problem with that is that is just going to create more division and more disharmony. And so this is where we're at now in the Donald Trump era. They really are pushing for racial tension. So this show isn't going to be a good show for that reason. The battle lines have been drawn. And unless you are reaching over to the other side and doing some kind of show that's going to reach the people that you are in disharmony with, then it's a failed goal. Then all you're doing is provoking more dissension, provoking more division. And so I see this time and time again every time. It's not the left or the right. Neither one is willing to go to the other person, the other people, and present information that they can both agree on and work from a standpoint of harmony. The way you bring people into a harmonious situation is find things that they can agree on. You don't start off by arguing. You don't start off by the hot topics. If you want to build relationships, you have to bond in some way. You have to find a way to bond together, and that's desperately needed in America, and we'll see how this all works out. But this show is definitely I'll leave a link in the description box, and the ad is very provocative. All right, so this is Paul Romano reporting from the apocalypse. Everyone have a wonderful night.